I'm so excited to dive into this episode all about automation and how to know where automation will serve you. Before I dive in, I have to shout out my photographer, Natalia Newman. She inspired this episode by asking this question, and she's absolutely amazing. If you happen to be in the Pacific Northwest region or on the West Coast, she does a lot of work, she travels, and if you happen to see my maternity photos, she's the one who took them. So I will link her page in the show notes so that you can give her a follow because she's absolutely incredible. Okay, so let's dive in. But before I start talking about automation and how to know where it will serve you best, I need to first define what automation is. And I define automation as anything that is happening without you manually doing it. So, a very simple version of this is when you have a freebie or a lead magnet, and for example, you link your email software to it so that when someone enters their name and email on your landing page to get the freebie, they get it automatically without you having to send an email or for them to have to wait to get it. This is a very basic version that most people are very familiar with. And on the more advanced side, it can start to include things like tags. You can have elaborate funnels, pipelines. Typically, though, we use it to simplify a task that we would otherwise be doing repeatedly. So, in order to really talk about this topic, we have to get an understanding of what is it that automation's doing, how is it being used. A way that I like to think of automation is like an orchestra conductor. Random fun fact, but I used to play the violin. I still have it, so I should probably pick it back up sometime. But anyways, I think of automation like an orchestra conductor. So you have this beautiful piece of music, and I want you to imagine that your business is an orchestra. There are different sections, and each section, no matter what instrument it is, they play a crucial role in making sure that this beautiful sound is played out that creates that piece of music. So I want you to imagine if every single section could play their part flawlessly. They could do it without missing a beat. They didn't need to have continuous direction. That is the role that automation plays in business. The same way that a conductor will guide each different section, regardless of what instrument they play, when to start and stop at the right time. Automation does the same thing for parts of your business. It performs tasks, it can do follow-up actions, and it really just ensures that your operations can happen smoothly and done in the right timing. So I think of it as this invisible workforce that kind of just is like humming along in the background and enabling your business to deliver a really, really amazing performance. So, in essence, automation can be a game changer, especially when it's done right. And it can really empower your business to scale to new levels. It can increase your efficiency. It can create an unforgettable client experience. And it's not just about reducing the manual work that you're doing, but it's really about setting the stage for your business to perform its best music yet. So, another thing that's important to note is that I am a firm believer that not everything should be automated. For example, in my own business, there are certain things that I have intentionally chosen to not automate because I want to maintain certain parts and make sure that they have the personal touch that I want them to have. So, for example, on Instagram, it's really common right now to use call to action CTAs that require your audience to write a word in the comment section. And a lot of people can use or they do use mini chat to automatically send a DM based off of that specific word. However, for me, and this is just me personally, no judgment, regardless of where you fall on this. For me, my DMs are something that I want to keep as personal touch. I want my audience to know that if you are chatting with my Instagram account at essentially Jenae, that you are getting me, you are not getting a robot. Now, if you choose to use this function, if mini chat is serving your business, there are definitely cases that I think it can be really powerful. But this is just an example of for me, I don't automate everything because there are certain things that I really value having that personal touch. Another thing that I think should be noted is before you ever start to dive into automation it's really, really key that you map out your process first. If you currently do not know how you actually interact with your clients when they sign on, if you don't have a clear understanding of how people go from stranger on the internet to a paid client in your world, that needs to be uncovered before you dive into automation because the frank question at that point would be, what exactly are you even automating? And I think that's the biggest mistake. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is they will get another software, and then in that software, they're trying to figure out their process and automate at the same time. So if you want to save yourself the headache, just don't do that and instead know your process first. And if you don't know your process first, this is a good thing for you to go do and then come back to automation. So, in this episode, I'm going to make the assumption that you already have your process down packed. You know it, you know exactly what you do. And after that is done, you want to know where you could use automation to serve you best. I think of business like a corporate organization chart where you have different departments, right? And if you are currently a one woman show, you still have different areas of your business that you are operating. You have marketing, sales, delivery, finances, IT, admin, just to name a few. And each of those departments have specific functions that need to be completed. So when I'm working with a private client and we're creating our process to decide where it makes sense, we first map out the actions that they are taking in these different areas. So I'm just giving you this for context because I'm going to walk you through steps and just know that this is a process that you could repeat in various different areas of your business. So this is not a I did it once. If anything, this is an episode that you will probably come back to over and over. And I definitely recommend you do that for all the different areas of your business so that you can figure out where automation could help you in that specific area and move forward. So, the first step that I'm going to walk you through, this first step alone is going to show you a huge opportunity that you have in terms of the way that you spend time in your business and where you really have the opportunity to free up a lot of your time. A common mistake that I see scattered founders make is they automate based on just what they don't like. It's a feeling impulsive type of decision that they're making instead of looking at where do they have the opportunity to get the most time back so that they then can spend more time in the areas that they really love. Or another mistake that I see is that they're not even aware of how the time is being spent in their business whatsoever. So, what happens when this step is not followed? When this is skipped, it can cause so much time to be spent looking at your computer screen, sitting at your desk, wondering where you should start first, not really being able to unplug from your phone, from your laptop the way that you want to. And ultimately, it can add hours to what you do every week. And I know that what you want is more time freedom. So let's dive into step one. Step one is to identify the tasks that you are doing manually on a regular basis. What does this mean? This means that to start identifying the tasks that are one, time consuming and are done at a regular frequency. Some examples of what this could look like is it could be routine emails that you send out. It could be that you're scheduling appointments with your clients. You might even be going back and forth on finding the best time to work with them. Or it could be managing your social media posts or the way that you onboard your clients. There are certain things that you inevitably are doing over and over again, and those things are oftentimes a perfect candidate for you to automate in your business. So, first, I want you to really take a look at you have your process for this given area of your business that you're assessing. So, what are the things in that specific function? So, whether it's marketing, sales, etc., that you are doing on a regular basis. When you identify these regular tasks, it's like gardening. In a garden, you will find that you have some plants that are growing like crazy and they take up a ton of your time and energy to maintain them. You can look at this the same way that you look at repetitive tasks in your business. They consume a lot of your time, but they don't necessarily add a ton of value or beauty to your garden necessarily. Just as you might decide to replace these high maintenance plants with ones that maybe require less care. And your garden can still look just as great. And in the same way, those things could also be automated. So, this is a way that you can free up your time and energy to focus on what's more valuable and a more rewarding task for you, which ultimately will means that you are able to then grow your business. Just like focusing on the more beautiful, satisfying parts of maintaining a garden. So, what I want you to do is to start by identifying these weeds in your business routine, the tasks that are consuming so much of your time that you are doing all the time. And once you know what they are, you can start to look for ways to automate them. I'm going to go into the next step before you just skip to like, let's automate. But this will give you more time to really cultivate the way that you interact with your business, especially in the way that your time is spent. The next step that I'm about to share with you is going to help you improve your productivity as well as your efficiency. What's interesting about this step is one of my private clients that I walk through this entire process, she experienced a huge shift in how she was showing up in her business and how she delegated her time just by getting clear on this step. This was before we even automated anything. This was in the development of how do we choose what we automate, and it was massive. So, definitely make sure that you do this and do it completely. Mistakes that I see when it comes to this one is I've seen people just randomly choosing where to automate, basing it off of what they've heard recommended to them by other people who are in a similar space, in a similar business space, and not really accounting for what's unique about the way that they run their business. If you fall into making that mistake, it can lead to having reoccurring charges for software that you don't even use or you don't use to the full capacity that you could. And it can lead to constantly jumping from one software to another, which ends up resulting in time lost, which is not the goal. Once you've identified the repetitive tasks that we identified in step one, I want you to consider the volume and frequency of each of those tasks. So, for frequency, is this daily? Is this weekly? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly that you are doing it? And in terms of volume, how many resources go into making sure this task can get done? Energy, effort. I want you to really quantify the impact that this task has on you and what it looks like in your business as you've been running it. If a task is being performed frequently and it requires a large volume, meaning the resources that are needed to get it done, automation in that area has the potential to give you significant time savings and increased efficiencies. This is such a better way of making sure that you're automating smart and not just doing it for the sake of doing it. So, another example of this, if we're going back to our garden example that I used before, you have different plants in a garden and they require different amounts of water. Some might need watering every day, other ones might need watering once a week. And it's really important that you understand the needs of each plant. And once you know that, then you can create a schedule that makes sure that each plant is getting exactly what it needs in order to have that thriving garden. And it's so similar in your business. Different tasks require different amounts of time and resources, which I'm calling volume, and they need to be done at different frequencies. So once we understand these variables, you can actually start to manage your task more efficiently even before you start to implement automations, because this is a way to know that the tasks that you are doing in your business, what is the amount of attention that's needed for them and how much time and what is the right time, which can lead to more efficient and productive workflow for you. I can't like even put a number on how many times I've heard people talk about sitting at their desk and not being sure of what it is that they're going to do. And they're just following this to do list that seems endless, or worse yet, it's actually being held in their head. This is a way of making sure that you one, are clear on what it is you're doing. In my experience, when people go through this step, they actually start to kind of see the areas that are fluff in their business, areas that are giving opportunity before they even automate. This has the opportunity to really be a game changer in how you show up in your business. And you can really start to see those areas that provide just a sink pit, like a black hole of your time. Okay. The next step that I'm going to talk about, which I'm so excited, the next step is key to making sure that what you are doing will serve you in your business and that you don't go overboard with automation. Because remember, the goal is not to automate everything. A common mistake that I see here is that people start to implement before they know for sure if it would actually benefit them in their unique situation. Or on the other extreme, they get cold feet and they don't actually invest in automation because they don't want to spend, I don't know, $50 or $100 a month, and not understanding the potential that it has to actually increase their revenue and by how much. But you now going through the first two steps, you have a sense of how much time it's taking. And from there, you can get a better sense of what value does automating it give you. So now, if this step is not done, what happens is you have the potential to lose key personal touch points in your business, or you have automations that are running that actually aren't benefiting you the way that you think. So, this is a really fun step because it's actually done twice. This step is done before you automate, and it's also done after you automate as a check and balance. So, okay, once you've identified the potential tasks for automation, you need to start to analyze the impact of automating those tasks in your business. Some questions to ask in order to do that. Will automation improve the efficiency? You have a time now of how long it took you to do this. Could you do it in less time? Will it reduce the number of errors or mistakes that you make? Is this going to provide a better client experience? Will this start to actually free up your time so that you can focus on value adding activities? If the answer is yes, that when you think about the impact that this automation can have, it's positive. This is a green light to say, awesome, then automating in this area will probably serve you. Now, this is how you do it before you implement automation. Another test that I like to do in terms of the impact is this going to take away from my client experience? I view everything that I'm automating through the lens of how does this help me as a business owner and what does this feel like to the person who is going through this process? If I'm the person who signed up and this is the process that I'm being guided through, does it still feel really good? Does it feel expansive? Is this how I want my client experience to look like? That's if it's something that's forward facing. If it's something behind the scenes, you don't really have to worry about that part, but you know what you're dealing with here. Also, this is one that you're going to do after you automate. After you automate something, you are going to make sure that what you did is working in the way that you think. Is it working effectively? Is it saving you the time that you think it was going to take? Is there a better way to do it? Have you learned something since it's been implemented that you liked or didn't like and make tweaks? Nothing is finalized when it comes to automation. It's a constant involvement and a refinement that needs to happen so that you ultimately get to the goal that you really want. The way that I think of this is the same way when you are given any type of treatment, say in a medical sense, like say you were given medicine by a doctor in a hospital, oftentimes you will have your vitals checked after treatment is administered. They don't just give you medicine and then ignore you, like, okay, yeah, I gave it to you, boom, we're done. Instead, your vital signs are monitored, your heart rate, blood pressure, temperature. Is the treatment working in the way that we thought it would work? If they improve, then the treatment's working. Awesome. And if it's not, then let's consider maybe a different dosage or a different treatment. This is exactly how it works in business. Whenever we're automating anything, it's so important that we monitor the key process indicators, your KPIs in business to know how much time has been saved, how much money has been saved, or how much your money has increased, your revenue has increased since implementing this change, your productivity. This is not something that you need to guess if it's working because there's going to be data that you will see in your business to show you that, yes, it is in fact working. And when they show you a positive result that the automation is working, awesome, keep going. And if not, then make adjustments, change your approach. And that's the way that I choose to go about actually knowing one, where will automation serve you, your process for identifying that area, as well as once you have it in, how do you know that it's continuing to work for you? And data is a big topic. So that might be another episode that we dive into is the type of data that I like to look at. But really, the main things are this. So, in summary, we talked about three things. We talked about understanding what tasks you're doing on a regular basis and how much time they're taking up. Also, understanding the frequency and the effort that's required for all the tasks that you are doing in your business, as well as how to assess the impact that automation has both before you implement it as well as after. The main takeaway is this: automation is meant to enhance your business operations. It is not something to replace human touch where it's needed the most. So, the goal here when you're thinking about how to automate in your business is to strike a balance between efficiency, personalization, and really making sure that you're still fostering the journey that you want your clients to go on. And that's the way that I do it for myself and for the people that I help. So, with that, I hope this was helpful and that you are able to take something and run with it. I know that if you actually implement each one of these steps, you will see such a huge difference in the way that you spend your time in your business and what you're able to do as a result of that. So, with that, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Savvy Founder podcast. I hope that you enjoyed this one. Definitely feel free to post your lessons on Instagram and tag me at essentially Jenae. I would love to know your biggest takeaway from this episode. And with that, I will see you on the next episode.